I'm already watching college football, so let's talk about it. So, started off talking about, FSU, of course, my man Deion Sanders and Coach Prime, right? And as those videos started going and going and going, I found yourself, and it's kind of how we're going to get to Shedeur, you find yourself kind of not defending, but kind of trying to dispel some myths that a lot of people try to have around the Sanders name and stuff like that. So that kind of became my hallmark, but I don't want to leave out, because I also covered a lot of NIL things and kind of how Deion Sanders was not just somebody who used the transfer portal, but I wanted to make sure y'all remember he also puts a lot of positive advocacy for these young gentlemen, right? As he just did recently, he was the only person in America to have a, what's it called? What was that, a special practice for his guys before they transferred, right?
Yeah.
So, everybody wants to, call Deion this crazy flash and pizzazz type coach, but I saw somebody who was a classic style coach, trying to be a modern, having a modern approach to what he's doing, to best connect with those people. So, and I think the big thing, right? How we get to Shedeur content, how do we get here? It was the draft, I was making draft content, again, college guy. I was following my Lejantes. I was following all my guys. I was following Shedeur and Cam Ward, all these players that I really liked and comparing them to Jackson Dart. And I think you, including, I think anybody who watches football, when that draft slide happened, it was like, I'm talking, I don't have this much. There was a pit in my stomach seeing this man go to second day, third day. And it wasn't, look, if he went second round, look, the haters can have a fun time. He's not a first round quarterback. But I think it got to a point where even people who weren't fond of Shedeur and whatever, they're like, what's going on? Like it just didn't add up. So that gave me a little bit of a passion to, okay, well, I got to double down and follow this every step. Is it true that Shedeur was in there, blasting his music, wearing chains and throwing the wrist up? Like it can't be. It can't be. So I just wanted to do my best, to see, like, because in the NFL, and you've been watching, I've been watching. Mm-hmm. The truth's gonna come out. The right. Truth will reveal itself. So I just wanted to be there to document, the great things he was doing in Cleveland, the extra work he was putting in Cleveland, the fact that every single time somebody said this about Shedeur said, hey, God's timing, I'm working on me, I'm taking my time. So even the biggest Shedeur fan or Shedeur hater, it really, that's just all outside noise. Because when I give you those receipts and those things, look, this is what Shedeur said. He says he's ready to go. He says that, hey, I'm being patient and I'm confident in my coaches. So I think that is admirable. And, at the end of the day, I love me some Colorado football, right? That was some entertaining stuff. So it's easy to be a fan and kind of just follow him throughout the league. So I think that kind of sums up where we are now. Now we've seen a crazy circus. I've never seen anything like this. Again, I only 25 years young, but I watched a lot of football. This is like everyone seems confused, from NFL to media to Cleveland media. Everybody's like, hey, I don't know what's going on, and we need answers. So I think there's a lot of a curiosity that goes along with it too.
Man, you know what, Tingz too. You know what? It's so crazy that you mentioned that, because I always talk about this. There's a level of collective identity. Before before Shedeur was even a Cleveland Brown, I'm in Cleveland. I never thought we had an opportunity to get him. First and foremost, like, we watched. My dad went to a HBCU, and he went to Central State University here in Ohio. And so we watched Jackson State games. Like, we watched all the Jackson State games, right? Going back to TV, like, I was like, one of the first dudes watching reality. I mean, I remember watching him on OWN. Yeah, running around like Deion Sanders and Shiloh and all of them, like on a reality show. So by the time he got to Colorado, we was already watching. Like we was already watching. We staying up late. I'm in Ohio. We 10 a.m. 10 p.m. We up there watching. We watched the Baylor games. We watched the games where we all in one unison did not like Dan Lanning one bit. Like when Dan Lanning was popping off, we was like, oh no, we don't like this dude, man. Yeah. So we all watched him, and the crazy part about it is, it was like, once you was watching it all started with it kind of started with his dad. And it's like, for me, I come from a different generation where prime time is prime time, bro. Like, I don't know if you're like, I'm 43, but prime time was the deal. Like, prime time made you want to wear 21. He was the reason you had the gloves and the Newmans and the Nike shoes and a long side. He was the deal. So when he got to a point where he was bringing that level and doing some things with NIL, I was super excited, because I was like, finally, somebody is coming to relate themselves. And what I didn't get was, Coach Prime is a disciplinarian. And I'm like, Prime don't play no games. I don't understand why they trying to make it like it was like, oh, you know, they're running some sort of undisciplined program. And I think at that point in time, I was just like, yep, this narrative is getting out of control.
Yeah. I think I'm very happy that you pointed those things out. And I always double down on this. No matter how far I go into NFL content, or Colorado or Shedeur content, I double down whenever I say, hey, remember, and it's especially somebody who wasn't as attached to HBCUs as an African-American young man and still learning about it. That was my entrance to HBCUs. So I grow through my collegiate years, I grew a newfound like appreciation for those things because Coach Prime's over there coaching. Oh, Travis is going crazy. Like, you know, I'm not going to dox myself too crazy, but Travis Hunter went he went to school up the road for where I went to school and when I played college football. So it was like, oh, I mess with him. I mess with Travis Hunter and I mess with Deion Sanders so it was a lot of things. And then you learn more about HBCUs, you gain more value there. And so I think that's great, but not to stand too much on that. I think when you say narrative, the thing that, you know, my audience it's like the thing I always go back to. It was the post-game Nebraska interview. And again, I've beaten my audience to death about it, but that was when I was like, yeah, there's a real concerted effort to try to maximize clicks in any negative way, right? I know if it bleeds, it leads. That's the old adage in news. But I remember they took him out of context and tried to say he threw his offensive line under the bus and all this other craziness. And like, I remember I made videos, and it wasn't a big video. It was before I started, you know, I had like maybe 10K. I mean, that's not small, but still smaller than what it was. And I watched that video, and I just feel like it should have been a lot more viral. I'm like, I watched the full thing, and everybody is painting it as he's throwing teammates under the bus. And what I think some people don't realize is, you know, my little video that got 2,000 views of me proving it, here it is. It doesn't matter because people have already seen the clip, they've seen the headline, and in their head, it's locked and ingrained. Shedeur's a nepo baby, awful, terrible. He throws his teammates under the bus. They won't watch the 15-minute interview of him at BYU at the bowl game, telling the media to ask all his other teammates questions. That won't go viral. But the out of clip context thing, that's the thing that. So I definitely see what you're coming from.
Yeah, it's a bit of a firestorm when it comes to. I didn't understand it then, and then it kind of got. I realized the way the concerted effort was the way that the media, me being in the media, and I've been doing this. I don't know. I've been on YouTube for 10, 12 years. I've started working in the radio in 2012. So it was like me understanding and some of the content I did. I love the fact that you said about NIL. I was talking about NIL back when, you know, there was an opportunity for people to get paid, and they told us, hey, books and tuition is all you get. Like I played college football, and I remember going to bed like, man, I wish I had a pizza right now. And then you go to a school where you see other kids that, you know, they come from wealthy backgrounds. You know, I remember going to school and getting Pell Grant and getting Pell Grant, sending Pell Grant back to my mom's and my dad because you see what I'm saying? Like I had never seen no like $1,200. I was like, yo, I was sending money back to my mom them. So for me, I was always passionate about certain things, but what got me was it took me aback because when they drafted Shedeur Sanders, it just seemed like in the city and by the media, it was this level of, guys, you do know we drafted him. We drafted, the Browns drafted him. He's on the team. He's one of us. Why is there this concerted effort to keep regurgitating that where we took him or why he fell or how he fell or what it means? Is he really that good? Is his father? It was all these things. And I was sitting here thinking like, guys, the dude was, from where my perspective was, I told people a week before I would take him at number 2 overall. Number 2. So if you got him at number 2 overall, if I was willing to take him based on the skill set, why would I not want him in the 5th round? And it spiraled because it seemed to be people took it and ran based on what they had heard.
Yeah. You know, going back to that, I like that time, and I think it's so interesting because again, you know, during that time, I was going through a transition. You know, I'm still talking about Colorado stuff. I'm still talking about other college NIL stuff. So I'm outside looking at your content. Hey, my man, Selmore, you know, he goes, he's great. But looking at your content and looking at the reaction and seeing some of the people and shout out to I think the Dogs podcast too. They've always been fair. My man, I shout him out, Daniel. I don't know how to say his last name. It's like Oye. I don't want to butcher his name.
Oyefusi?
Oyefusi, yes.
Yeah,
okay, he was there when Shedeur was out there. But regardless, seeing when that initially happened and seeing that like kind of polarization about it, it almost felt like you said, some people just, oh, well, that's what people are saying. Let's double down and get this content out because, something I'm going a little too forward, but something I always talk about is whenever Shedeur finally gets to talk to the media and somebody is on a hot mic said, hey, I don't know how you don't like that guy. Right. And I'll bring that back to that where I think Shedeur, I liken him to, I make a lot of basketball, comparisons. There we go. There we go. So, maybe not as crazy because when I say this, you're going to be like, whoa, Kyrie Irving only from I feel like he's not as understood. I feel like he's almost intentionally misunderstood in the things that he does, but every single person close to him has positive things to say. So when I saw people trying to demonize a kid who at this point had just fallen to the 5th round, had just had all his hopes and dreams, not thrown away, but literally the league told him, hey, this is what we think of you, right. XYZ, all this stuff. He gets prank called. People are talking crazy about his dad, which again, we find out that during that entire time he was battling cancer, but we sweep that under the rug. Nobody want to talk about that. But it's cool. So, for me, it was just, I'm talking about, like, I watched way too much well-off media videos. I watched the post game. I watched everything. And to me, it's like, it really harkened to me that these people are just going to take whatever runs and whatever leads, because it's like, man, I sat there, I watched him in losses and wins, be humble, be funny, joke around. Like what I've always said when the leaks came out, I remember the draft, I said, look, Shedeur is someone that you can easily, like I said, misunderstand, maybe misinterpret, right? But I feel like every person that sits down and talks to him is like, oh, he's amazing. He's nice. There's so many other positive things that come along with it. And if you just, not to be too cliche, you just read the flashy watches and the cool chains, you're going to not like him. But if you hear the substance and what he talks about, it's the complete opposite of how people try to paint him, which is, I think, a glaring, misrepresentation of kind of how he gets down.
So I got a quick video. We took some content and you mentioned this a little bit about, I think this is one with Rex Ryan. He talks about how is it that, Shedeur Sanders gets into trouble and why you guys is making a big deal out of having some self-confidence. So we'll take a look at this and make sure, once again, make sure you go check out and make sure you subscribe. This is Tingz 2. Talking a little bit about what the misconceptions is with Shedeur Sanders. Taken out of context, right? You talked about how he's lighthearted, kind-hearted. He's just a regular dude having fun. This is a compilation of you talking about why everything we got to be so serious that be making for with Shedeur Sanders.
And I also see him kind of light up. And then on top of that, they always joking. Like, the media loves to, paint it as is life or death with the Sanders fans or Sanders family all the time. I promise you, it's not that deep. They don't take it that deep. They making you a distraction, bro. Like, come on, bro.
And I think it's cool because, you kind of got the same playful attitude with it. Like, come on, bro. Like, what do you mean it's a distraction? He's sitting there smiling.
I think that, and this is, a bigger take on mine. I think we oversimplify and maybe don't make it as big of a deal. The fact that Deion got to coach his brothers or coach his sons while his other son was documenting every moment. Right. And to see in that specific video, to see Shedeur light up, to see him be so happy, to show that it's like, and I was telling this to my fiance, I was like, we're just talking in the car. I'm like, man, some of these players, it is just great to see them happy and enjoy what they do. And in contrast, to see Shedeur with all this scrutiny, all these things around, oh my God, he's this, he's that, he doesn't do this. They're saying this, why isn't he starting? And he's just joking and smiling and laughing like that. That is a great testament to the man that has been built by Deion, right? To the teachings of his father. Hey, it's going to be all right. I've had harder moments. I've had higher criticisms. This is going to be another day. So let's just keep smiling. Let's enjoy the family, the way he's around Coach Prime, the way he's around his brothers. That bond right there. It don't matter if Shedeur don't throw another pass in the NFL. That is a win. That connection with the family, the way they love, the way they show support. Shiloh's out there. what's it called, Bucky's out there. Like that is it's a different level of win that I just enjoy, and it's easy to act like the sky's falling when great things like that are happening.
Ding, 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 boy. Listen, I'm gonna say it, man. Look, when I was 25, I'm gonna keep it real. This is why I like you. When I was 25, I was in a club somewhere doing God knows what. Like, I'm just telling you.
Nothing wrong with that now.
But I'm saying, you listen. But the level of wisdom that you are articulating is refreshing, because you're saying something, and this is why it's important to get these young folks up on here, because they don't understand that the game is different. The way they judging y'all is different type of time nowadays, right now. And I think what you're seeing, a lot of the pushback that you see in the industry is y'all up next. You understand the wave. When I came up, you had to go through hoops, steps, crawl, walk, intern for a whole year. You intern for a whole year for free. You drive different places. Then they say, okay, well, we might give you a little part-time something. But now you got people that know and understand the technology, understand the pace of things, understand the game, and you are genuine enough that you can emote and people mess with you. People really see that you're a genuine dude. And so what happens is, nowadays, if you legacy media, if you just did right now, you got to be a little scared. Because right now, when you got 36,000, and people don't understand that 36,000 at 25 is different, because now he already got the mind and the wherewithal to do it. Now the content is hitting. Nowadays, this is the new wave. This is the Wild Wild West over here. So you see a lot of people that's kind of, I hate to say it, they're a little bitter, because when I grew up, it was the ESPNs and the Fox Sports, and a lot of them jobs is going away, and a lot of what's now is in a space where players are doing what we're doing. Players, and so if you're a player and you into this thing, and you got guys like you that's coming up that's really got the one up because they've been in it since they lived, since jump. It's a little intimidating.
Yeah, I think I'm big, like I said, big YouTube watcher. I come from like the Pat McAfee days. Like I started watching, that's where I was like, oh, maybe there are people who would want to like hear me like talk about these things, right? And I think first off, I appreciate the things that you're saying about me being 25 and the wisdom, but I think even bigger than that, I think there needs to be, like, I'm big on respecting what came before me. I don't think there needs to be space, and that's why, like, hey, I'm only 25. I'm a Deion Sanders fan. Like, I used to watch, the highlights and stuff. Like, that was a little bit of my inspiration. So I'm big on respecting what came before. So I feel like in being positive, in trying to be wisdom and trying to do those things right, because it's easier for me to do this and to make this content, I think our generation's goal is to also add something to that, right? Whether it's having receipts, whether it's being positive when I can easily just be negative, where, they're cutting corners in certain aspects. It's too easy, or the opportunities are too great right now to not take advantage, because I think it would be a spit in the face of people like you who came up and had to grind and didn't know. And YouTube 8 years ago was completely different. People looked at it different. The money was different. I know, because I was watching, you know what I'm saying? Just a girl. Like, so it's a whole different landscape. So I just appreciate that there is, because again, I watch a lot of YouTube. One of my favorite creators, his name's Agent Zero. Again, he does Twitch streaming stuff, but he said something that stuck with me. He says when he makes content, right, because he was an OG 2K creator or whatever, he's like, think of it like a snowplow. I don't know if you ever lived in the north. Oh no, you're in Ohio. Yeah. So you have you know that. So, you can either be the snow plow that has to push all this snow and do all that stuff, or you can be the pickup truck that gets to follow the tracks, right? So y'all have plowed, y'all have done those things. I think it's important that, we take advantage and do it the right way now that we have it.
I love what you said right there. One of my biggest things that, it was a point in time when I was grinding and I didn't see no results. I had worked at different places. I had internship. I had multiple degrees. I had a mom and a dad that both went to college. And one of the things that was so difficult for me at one point in time, I remember sitting in my car and thinking to myself, I said, God, if you've given me all of these things and you've given me a great opportunity, and I've had a great family structure, and I'm still not making it. What am I going to say to other people that come up behind me that don't have some of the same advantages? Maybe they don't got a father or a mother. Maybe they don't have they weren't big enough to get a college degree or play football in college. Maybe they didn't have extracurriculars, or maybe they didn't have enough, cultural diversity to learn how to maneuver and move amongst other different people and races. And I said, if I can't make it, how was anybody gonna make it? And I remember having it difficult because I felt in my heart like you kind of feel this I would say a silent burden a little bit. And I think some of the silent burden that you feel and some of the silent stuff that you get that goes to the Shedeur Sanders thing would be, I'm just looking at a kid who has a great dad, a great parent, good family background, and he laughs, he doesn't do it. He didn't go to jail, he didn't shoot nobody, he don't got a bunch of extra baby mamas, he don't do none of that. Like, if they can tear him down and make him seem like he's the antithesis of everything that American is, then nobody has a shot. We might as well be done.
I cannot agree more. Like, that was, and that's, hey, age gives you a lot of things, and I think even more wisdom, because that, I could not have said it better. Like, just the grace that I have learned to have from my life, the appreciation for my life. I'm not no millionaire, I'm not no whatever. I didn't even have, mom, dad were together, but hey, they did what they could. Uncle, hey, takes a village, and my village I'm more than thankful for it. So in my trials and tribulations, seeing that I'm not even in the best situation, but I see people that are worse off. I see people who get the worst end of the stick. And again, to some of my people, I hope, if I have some viewers in here, y'all know I'm going to talk when I say this, Cormani McClain. And I know it's crazy to bring that name up, but you talk about someone who, I was making Colorado videos. I'm a Colorado guy. I could have easily said Cormani McClain is dumb. He's this, he's that. I didn't. In the same way that I respect what Shedeur and the opportunity he has, I can recognize what the issues that Cormani McClain is going through. The fact that he didn't have what Shedeur has. So I want to do my best to be like, hey, he did some dumb things. He did some silly things. It didn't work out at Colorado. Deion's not saying he's terrible or this or whatever. He's just going to learn as a young man and keep growing. Just in the same way, Shedeur is going to learn. And going back to Shedeur, right, in the draft process, I see all the people commenting about that, right? I want to double down on this idea that, he was getting thrown under the bus and painted this way where there was no real substantive, like I want to make sure we stick on that. There is no substantive off the field issues from Shedeur Sanders besides, right, an out of context clip that we talked about, right, a tweet one time, right, that people go crazy. And now I guess, this is kind of going retroactively, but a few speeding tickets. Yeah. Nothing has ever been reported. Nothing's ever been said. Colorado's never said it. So my issue there is like, how did we get to the point where somebody did nothing but fall in the draft? Or maybe, and let's just say, let's believe all the rumors. Let's say all the rumors are true, and Shedeur really just, he messed up on the whiteboard. Hey, let's live in that reality.
Okay.
That is not the reality where then people say talk about the way that they talk about him now as untalented and he's cocky, he's too this, it's too that. It got to the point, the fall and the leaks gave people a reason to add so much extra on his character and paint him in ways that I don't think anybody even intended to, right? I'm not sure if that was their intentions, right? But here we are, and a lot of people feel a certain way.
There's a group of individuals that is not going to play about him.
Yes.
I said, I know we had Odell Beckham. I know we had Jarvis Landry. I know we got Myles Garrett. I know we had Baker Mayfield, big personalities. I said, this ain't got nothing to do with it. They're like, come on, man. It can't be. I said, listen, these people mess with him on a human level outside of the football. They don't care nothing about what he doing at football field. They just here to and I said, the reason that they mad is the only reason that they upset is because they took you up on an offer that you said it was a quarterback competition. You said 4 quarterbacks are going to play. You said it was open, fair, and open and honest. And guess what? The only problem they had was they took your word for it to be solid. And then they found out after we went to training camp and started reporting that it was never a fair case.